Everybody, welcome back to Northernlion. Plays a Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. There's no music because, I mean, it's a long story. Here's how you know you're intimately familiar with the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. If you quit the game after muting the music with M, you cannot make the music go back up without going to the options menu. Anyway, I'm looking at this seed right off the bat. You saw the parameters. Oh, excuse me. Hello, Tomo. Welcome back to the office. Would you like... I'm getting his chair all set up for him. Tomo's a good boy. I think he's like Pavlovianly... That's a real word. Look it up. Conditioned. Is that right, Tomo? When he hears everybody, he wants to be in the office. You have committed a crime, my friend. Now you want to leave? Well, you know, it's not like I opened the door for you, went, hello, Tomo, and then, you know, took an opportunity to pet you. I mean, you can go your own way. You can call it another lonely day and other such Fleetwood Mac lyrics if you so desire. This is an amazing start. Spacebar item's good. It means I can't judge our speed. Because our speed... Ooh, that was not the right play. Our speed is good. But it's good... partly, at least, as a result of the fact that we also have... we might as well fight. It's good partly as a result of the fact that we also have the pony. But that's largely irrelevant. We have 5.68 damage because of our stats rolls, and then also our item is the mark, so that helps out. I have no idea if I like marrow as an item. But a bone heart is kind of like a refillable spirit heart, so I guess if you distill it down to brass tacks, how could I not like it as an item, you know? Once it's gone, it's gone. But if it never leaves, or, you know, if it gives us some kind of advantage before it leaves, we got nothing to sweat. Sweat till it can't sweat no more. And if it cries, I'm gonna sweat it some more, or... It's Inner Circle. It's called Reggae, sweetie. Look it up. I gotta stop using that meme. I do think there comes a point, you know, and this is why, by the way, people, you know, they come into my chat and they seem annoyed sometimes. They're like, NL, you're always talking about how old you are, but you're not old. You're 29. This is true. I know 29 is not old, because I've met people older than that, so obviously it can't be old. Ages go so much higher than 29. For one, they go to 30. After that, there's 9 more before you get to 40. It can even get up in the 80s, 90s, 100s. Very rarely 110, 120. You know what I like is so many people watching this are probably like, I'm gonna be one of those 100-year-olds. Are you a man? Because if you are, I mean, maybe with modern medicine, taking care of yourself throughout your life, you might have a better chance. I'm just saying. I looked it up at one point. It's something like 1 in 10,000 men lives to the age of 100. You always hear these stories of 100-year-old men. I'm not saying it, you hear them like every single day, but on the news now and then they'll be like, a 100-year-old man in Asheville, North Carolina set a new record by completing the 100-meter dash in 44 seconds today. And you're always like, wow, that's cool. I can't wait to do that. I got some bad news for you. It means that, you know, a couple of people watching this video will make it there. And I know what you're thinking is, NL, it's not really a fair representation. Modern medicine, always improving. We might be able to live to be 100 on average as millennial men. We might live to be 110 on average. Probably starting to push it there. We might live to live forever. Oh, honey, I got some news for you. Possible, but unlikely. Let's just put it that way. Also, let's stop taking dumb damage like an idiot. But anyway, I digress. That's a secondary point to the point that I was trying to make, which is not that I think I'm old, but I think I am approaching that age where the majority of my humor cannot consist of quotes of movies written by people substantially more funny than I am, and also memes taken from the internet. Do you know the way? Etc., etc. You know, and I've been trying to, like, I'm doing my own original stuff to some extent, crafting, you know, dynamic comedy that comes out on the fly, or at least trying to. So when I was 16, the height of humor was two things. References to Napoleon Dynamite and references to Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. The first one, not the second one, because that had not come out and was merely a twinkle in Will Ferrell's eye as of that moment. This was way back in the day. Remember the guy that people thought was the funniest guy in our whole high school would put up his hand in class and go, they'd be like, yeah, Thomas, do the chickens have large talons? And it brought the house down literally every single time. It didn't matter if it was the second time you heard that this week. You were like, it's the chickens have large talons, but all over again. What's Thomas doing now? He's dead. How do you feel for bringing that up now? It's a hard memory. In reality, how's Thomas doing? Thomas doesn't exist. I made him up for the purposes of this bit, okay? I thought it would be more relatable if there was like somebody that we could all use as a lightning rod for this sort of moment. But anyway, I don't want to pull the veil back too much, even though I've already ruined it. Get wrecked, blighted all of them. But that's not what it's like when you're older, you know? When you're older, your humor... What? Okay, I know what happened. There was a rock there and it turned into small rock. But briefly, my brain was completely destroyed. So this is going to start costing spirit hearts, which means we can't actually take the 1 heart deal and the 2 heart. Now we can. Okay, so we'll take the 2 heart deal first, even though it looks backwards. Then we'll take this one. So we got Betrayal. We got Dark Prince's Crown. We didn't get the small rock. Are you kidding me? Oh my god. I didn't think it would be possible to miss it, honestly. So Dark Prince's Crown and Betrayal and Ghost Baby. That's not what you want out of a triple Devil Room, but we still gotta, you know, I mean, the run's still good. No question about it. Dark Prince's Crown is like a joke item. I can't believe that ended up being the double heart deal. It exists exclusively to make, like, Curse of the Blind screw you like that. I genuinely believe that. Anyway... You know, when you get older, your humor transitions. Because when you're young, and don't take this the wrong way, if you were in this age group, you know, the only way to go is up, okay? When you're young, you don't have a lot of personal experience to draw on when you tell a story, you know? I remember I used to listen to stand-up comedians, and they'd always have this story. I knew this guy one time. He'd been married so many times, he had rice marks all over his face. You know, that's a Tom Waits quote, but you get the idea. And you go, how do these people know so many people? Well, it's two things. First off, they've lived, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50 years on planet Earth. Tried to live an interesting life. Cultivated, you know, friendships with unusual people. Well, combined with the observational talent of finding the absurdity in everyday situations where most people just go, huh, what a dick, and then leave. And then the other thing is that most of those are just made up. It's like, you know... I'm pretty sure the way that it happens is you have like a punchline in your head and you're like, how do I build a story around this that buries the punchline and then pulls it out at the last possible second and it kills, you know? But as a kid, you know, or a teenager even, a lot of your humor has to come from other sources. I understand that, but as you get older, everybody knows like the, you know, 35-year-old guy who's he's like, hey, do you know the way? And you're like, just doesn't feel right coming out of you. I'm not trying to say, like, you can't, but simultaneously, like, maybe you shouldn't? So at that point, you're supposed to have developed your own sort of style that other people can be like, hey, this guy's funny, or man, this guy can screw off forever. Trust me. Take it from me. What's the other? No, there is no other item there. Here's the thing. I was willing to go for a lark on that one. I don't really like blank card death, but it turns out our speed is just fine regardless, and we'll probably get another card that works acceptably for this, of course, so no problem. Man, I wish we could fly. If only we had an item that gave us the capabilities to fly, but I digress. So that's why I'm worried, or not worried, but always cognizant of my age, because, you know, it's cool until it's not cool to be the guy always recycling stuff on the internet. There's like a cultural shift you're supposed to go through. Sometime in your late 20s or maybe your early 30s, I think, where you can't just be the guy who's talking in meme speak all the time. So I guess what it is that I'm not old, but I'm getting old for the internet. And it's a long process. You know, it's not like you're young and then, boop, you're old for the internet. I've been old for the internet, and this is going to be a shock for many of you, because you're going to be in the same boat. Probably the first time I felt like old on the internet was when I was like 24, maybe even a little bit younger. And the memes transitioned from predominantly being about The Simpsons to predominantly being about SpongeBob SquarePants. That's step one of becoming old on the internet. The memes that you were like, we're the first people to ever make this joke. Remember that show from our childhood? Remember sewer sharks? As soon as you see less sewer shark references and more references to a show that was slightly younger than your demographic when you know, we're coming up and watching children's television shows, that's when it starts. Because what that means is that the younger generation has learned to use the internet. You're no longer the youngest person on the internet. When I was 19, I was the youngest person on the internet. The only people younger than me on the internet were kids. Anybody younger than me was a kid, anybody older than me was a grandpa. All of a sudden, I hit 25. People are like, hey, remember that anime Cory in the house? And I'm going, what are you talking about? Also, where are my bifocals? That's how it happens. You start, you get bifocals right off the bat. Step 2, you don't know what any of the popular artists' names are anymore. I don't know who Designer is. I don't know who Logic is. I don't know who Dua Lipa is, except I know she's got new rules. I know Ariana Grande, but only because she was in Zoolander 2, which is a movie I should not have watched, but I liked Zoolander 1. It was one of those movies you had to quote in high school if you wanted to be half as funny as Thomas was. Finally, we have bombs. We should never be short of bombs. Ooh, no, we don't need... 2 of spades is irrelevant here. We already have 99 keys. This is a good ticket. Car battery would be really nice as well. Sure. Teleporting is a valuable skill here. Anyway, I think I've gotten my point across. When do you reach elderly on the internet? That's when you start to pronounce common internet words incorrectly. And I'm not talking about GIF and GIF. I'm talking about meme. One time my mom, this was maybe 4 years, it was actually like 2 years ago. She was like, hey, you want to check out this meme that my friend sent me on Facebook? And I was like, first off, absolutely not, but I have to say yes, because you're my mom. Secondly, it's not pronounced meme, it's pronounced meme. And then she said, whatever. And I said, you know what? That's the best attitude you could conceivably have with respect to that. The worst attitude you could have with respect to that is, well, actually, the word meme was originally invented by Richard Dawkins in The Selfish Gene, written in 1975, a landmark book in evolutionary biology, originally coined as a term in order to refer to a unit that can be passed from individual to individual, but not via genetic data, but instead via cultural transmission. That's right, I have a degree in biology. I've read all of those biology books. And I'm being sincere. I haven't read On the Origin of Species. That's because it was written 400 years ago and is boring as hell, okay? Here's all you need to know about Charles Darwin. Genius guy, probably the most famous biologist that's ever lived. He's up there at the very least. Invented, or, you know, discovered the concept of natural selection, married his first cousin. I want a scientist who practice what they preach. That's all I'm trying to say. But anyway, I've read, you know, Selfish Gene. I've read The Red Queen, Gun, Germs, and Steel. If you don't pluralize gun, it sounds really weird. Guns, Germs, and Steel. There you go. The Tipping Point. You name it. I've experienced it. I don't need to go to the shop. Get me out of here. Anyway. When do you become a mummy on the internet? I don't know. I don't know if anybody's gotten to that point yet. I think I saw one anecdote on Twitter today that might put you in that camp. It was a group conversation with a family, and somebody sent a GIF of Steve Harvey clapping, and then one of the people who received it, the matriarch of the family, as it were, went to the Verizon store because she couldn't stop Steve Harvey from clapping. First off, you just tap on the screen. We all know that. But secondarily, it's a GIF. She was like, my phone is cursed. I can't get this man to stop clapping even when I turn it off. That's when you become elderly on the internet. That's how you know we've made smartphones too easy to use. I think I may leave. I froze, dude. Okay, I'm not gonna leave, but I kind of want to still. No Krampus, please? No thank you, please. Now, as much as I think that that story is hilarious and hopefully not fake, because I want to believe that there's some goodness in the world, you know what I really took away from that story? Very much not, ha 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 ha, this lady didn't know what a GIF was, even though there's a certain element of that as well. More, I was like, oh my god. She had a problem in her life and she solved it in a day? That's amazing. Like, can I hire this woman? When I have a problem in my life, it creates an ice sphere in my stomach, and then I push it down, and I think, I don't want to think about this for a while, and then I do that as long as is conceivably plausible, while pretending everything else is fine, until it eventually boils over and cannot wait any longer. Like, I'll tell you, we're at this, pardon me, we're at this point now with my car. I have to get an oil change. And this is, I'm exaggerating a little bit for the sake of the anecdote, just because I don't want you to judge me too much and think that I'm living my life in a, you know, an imprisoned state of anxiety on a regular basis. We were supposed to get the oil change done like 2 or 3 months ago, and I didn't. It just slipped my mind. Now, we don't drive very much. It's not like we're driving 10 hours a day, and we, I just don't even know how to use that is the thing. It's not like we're driving 10 hours a day, and I'm not getting the oil changed. It's just, you know, things come up, and I go, I gotta do this today, gotta do this today, we've been sick, we've been away, you know, etc., etc. You get the general idea of the excuses that are not necessarily valid, but you can see how they would be valid if you were using them for yourself personally. Now, we've kind of hit the point where I'm like, it's been so long, I need to not go to the same oil change place, because they're gonna be like, what took you so long? And I'm gonna have to concoct some kind of story about, like, yeah, I don't know, like I was in space or something. I haven't really thought it through too much because I've been pushing this ice sphere down in the stomach, as mentioned earlier in the bit. There we go, we got it back. So yeah, but I haven't really you know, because now it's a chore, and I've got to look into another place to get an oil change, and to be honest, that was very bad. To be honest with you, I liked our last one. If only I had thought to keep up the maintenance. That's why, like, when I look at people who are in really, really good shape, when I was younger, it used to be an element of, like, envy, to some extent, being very impressed, you know, oh, it takes a lot of, you know, hard work to make that happen. Now when I look at somebody like that, I'm like, oh my god, you kept up with something that you had to do. I thought that was a shot. My brain actually broke. My mistake. This is dangerous, dude. It's like you kept up with a task for years. How did you sustain that level of interest in something for so long? And there is a certain irony there because I am playing Isaac. But anyway, you get the idea. I'm nothing if not like a hypocrite through and through. Well, this is an interesting situation, isn't it? The Serpent's Kiss is really good, but I don't know if I should be here. I don't know why my brain is so, like, broken right now for Isaac terms. The Serpent's Kiss is the one. This is a perfect fight here. That can give you demon hearts, right? This is a demon heartable situation. I'm just waiting for a teleport card is the other thing. Like with Sack of Sacks and, you know, Little Chest, you got to assume that that is plausible to happen at some point. We got, you know, the Sun card to get us out of a jam. Like this, for example. Don't hit me, mister. Anyway, that's that. I thought that the fact that she went into the Verizon store because she couldn't get a gift to stop playing was highly, you know, emblematic of a problem solver, in my opinion. Can I give you an anecdote? 4 years ago, I ran a lot. Most of my running was on a treadmill. Inside. Isolated. Was it boring? Not really. Listen to music, podcasts, audiobooks, etc., etc. It's kind of nice. You just zone out for a couple hours. It started with Couch to 5K, which is like the ultimate... One second, I knocked something out. It's the ultimate, like, if you're not a good runner at all, but you'd like to be able to, like, run for half an hour uninterrupted, I would definitely recommend it. So I got to the point where I was running 10 or 15K 4 or 5 times a week. Went to PAX. At PAX, met up with an old friend of mine, video game developer Ben Kane. You may know him as one of the developers behind Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, DLC Quest, etc., etc. Ben Kane says to me, he used to live in Vancouver because I think he interned at EA on Skate 3 or something like that. He says to me, why are you running on a treadmill when you live in one of the nicest outdoor running places on planet Earth? And I said, you know what, Ben Kane, you're right. I'm going to explore my surroundings, get in touch with nature, soak up some vitamin D, go out for the first run, no problem. Go out for the second run a couple of days later, tear my meniscus. Can barely bend it. Did I go to the doctor? Nah, I just kind of like slept it off for a day or two. It was very, very painful for a decent amount of time. I was also like 8 kilometers away from home when I tweaked my knee. So I walked home 8 kilometers on the fresh injury, which couldn't have been a smart idea. Anyway, so that's why when I think of this lady who has a problem with her phone and goes to the Verizon store the next day, I think, oh my god, she's a genius. Like, I need this woman in my organization somehow. Even just to be like my, you know, professional mother and be like, I'm like, Mom, I don't want to call my accountant. Okay, sweetie, I'll do it. That's what I need, dude. And in fact, I'm glad I don't have that because it forces me to be a bit more of an adult instead of being perpetually trapped in this, like, you know, pseudo-adolescent existence that a lot of streamers have surrounded themselves with. No shade being thrown, of course. Anyway, either way, the capstone of this story is that a year later I was talking to Ben Kane, and I was like, hey, Ben Kane, remember that time you told me to run outside? Well, 2 days after I started running outside, I tore my meniscus running on Jericho Beach. And he said, oh yeah, after I told you that, I remembered that I hurt my knee running in Vancouver in exactly the same spot. And we laughed, and we laughed, and we laughed, and then I murdered him. The end. He's not actually dead as of the time of this recording. He's over there in Ottawa. I'm here in Vancouver. It's not conceivable for that kind of murder to take place. I would have to get on an airplane, and that's a lot of work, as we've established from the preceding bit. By the way, can I just point out that, like, accidentally, my own idiocy is gonna save me here? I came in here with 1 HP thinking I was gonna die. I'm gonna leave with 12 HP. Well, let's not get too cocky. And a better trinket. I'm only holding on to this one because I want flies for right now, but the Bloody Crown is what we're going to take in the future. Although we did just ruin the Dark Prince's crown to begin with, which is totally different than the Bloody Crown. Don't get it twisted. Definitely not just an, you know, scaled up version of the existing item. Anyway. Start cranking these sun cards out of here, I guess. I was gonna use them for HP, but that pretty quickly became unnecessary. Come on. Come on! Don't you ever hear of Tom Petty? A little song called Don't Do Me Like That? Well, if you haven't heard it, I'll give you a little rendition of the lyrics. It goes, baby, baby, can't you see? Don't do me like that. Yeah, don't do me, baby. At least not like that. Don't do me. I actually know more of the lyrics. I just think. I could have done a better job, I just didn't want to. Anybody have a friend like that? It's hard being a streamer because every time I say, did anybody have a friend like that? People go, I bet NL was that kid. Nah, dude. I was definitely a pedantic kid. I was the kid who was kind of like Twitch chat. But I wasn't the kid who was like, I could have beaten you, but I didn't want to. That wasn't me. I was the kid who was like, actually, you mean to whom? And that's why I can feel very confident to talk about, you know, whenever someone is colloquially known as a grammar Nazi. They always have this veneer of like, well, I'm doing it to help you so other people don't judge you. Nah, I've been there. I understand. I'm first reformed. The reason you do it is because it's a signal to the other person that you're smarter than them. When you're actually just substantially dumber for wasting your time worrying about stuff like that. That's the real ticket. Blank card, blank room. Blank rune. Blank, open parentheses. No, that's not how that works. Anyway. This run went from, like, my own stupidity calling it into question to being pretty much good to go. I would like some higher rate of fire guaranteed without having to resort to Dark Prince's Crown, which everybody out there will admit is not worth playing around. Most of the time, at least. The other hard part is that if I ever tell a story about a friend of mine, people go, NL probably was that friend. When usually, I'm not. But the other thing they do is I go, it wasn't me. And they go, okay, it was definitely Mouth then. And I'm like, yeah, think what you want. None of my story, by the way, Mouth is a good guy. None of my stories where I've started them with like a friend of mine's a real piece of garbage have ever been about Mouth. First off, if I have a story about Mouth, I'd rather tell you it's about Mouth because you're gonna think it's more entertaining as a result. In fact, if anything, you should be more concerned. If I ever say this is a story about Mouth, you should assume that there's a greater chance I'm lying because that's just one easy way to hook you. It's like putting based on a true story at the start of a movie. It's like, yeah, doubt it. The other thing is, now, do I have stories of Mouth of myself behaving badly? Yeah, to some extent, but like, never like, yeah, he just killed a dude for no reason. He's a very nice guy. The rudest thing I've ever seen him do was he came down from his university to our university. We went out to a trivia night at a local bar. He took the glass from the bar. And then, like, I mean, it should be clear, there was some intoxication that had happened at the time. He will tell you that this is not something that's good to do. It's not like he's proud of the story, and neither am I. He took the glass, smashed it on the sidewalk. It's just, like, there's so many reasons why this is obviously just like a stupid pseudo-crime. I guess it's literally a crime, but you would never be prosecuted for it. He stole a glass, which is one thing. I know very nice people that have made a habit of stealing glasses from bars, and then it's just, for them, they don't consider it a crime because they're like, it's sentimental. This is just something to remember it by. And I'm like, I don't know about that one. Again, not a story about Mouth. But he didn't even keep it. He didn't even use like an anarchist argument like, well, they only pay a 15% effective income tax rate, so this is my way of furnishing my house with the unpaid wages of the working class. He just took the glass and he smashed it. It was just creating work and a hazard. But that's it. You might think that the story reflects poorly on him. It doesn't. If that's the worst thing you've ever done, the number of times I've been intoxicated with this gentleman has got to be in the triple digits. For that to be the worst thing you've ever done under the influence that I've seen, at least, I gotta consider that you're pretty much an angel. I had a friend who was a genius. By the way, this is why whenever people, and I'm not gonna be a narc, okay? But like, marijuana was recently made legal in Canada. The legalization argument is so strong simply because of the fact that alcohol is legal, and it makes very smart people do very dumb things on a regular basis. I'm not gonna get it because this is like maybe mildly controversial at the most. It's not like I'm preaching to an unconverted or anything like that, and I'm aware of that. But like, probably the smartest guy I know climbed up on a street sign, rocked back and forth on it until it pulled out of the ground, and well, I mean, there was a house there, so they called the police on him. And then when the police came, they just gave him a warning. This is what it was like, by the way. I don't know if it's the same now. To be a young adult in the mid-2000s, in a pre-social media age, you could make relatively consequence-free mistakes and kind of like be a little bit of a piece of human garbage, but then kind of like grow up instead of being tarred and feathered with the consequences forever. That guy is a great contributor to society now. He had 1 to 25 really stupid nights in university. Society footed the bill, and now he's paid it back in turn via his income tax returns. By the way, don't think this story is about me or Mouth. You know why? I would never refer to either of us as the smartest guy I know. That would be a really... I mean, I guess for Mouth it would be nice, but if I referred to myself that way, it would be very, you know... That's how you know I wasn't smart. If I was the smartest person I knew, I gotta get out of the house more. That's all I'm trying to say is... as long as alcohol is legal... It's really... You know what it is? It's like having the trump card with your parents. It's like it... If your parents got divorced and you pulled the card of like, well, mom lets me do it. You okay, fine. Heroin's legal now. That's not really how it works. Pair throw. I don't like blank room. It's not zany because I can't apply Zane when Zane exists. Instead, I have to hope Zane exists or try to predict Zane, which is inherently unzany. Anyway, I thought I had another pivot. I don't remember. I thought I had a cool anecdote. I do. It's about Doubted. This is what I should have said this to Justin last time I was talking to him. But Kate's ill right now. Like, she has the same thing that I still have. By the way, if you're one of these people that's coming into my chat, I start a stream sometimes. I'm feeling like 99.5%. I feel good, right? But people will come into my chat when I start a stream and they'll be like, why are you still sick? I don't know how to answer that question, okay? I don't know if you need like a 3rd grade level analysis of like why there's disease, or like if you want to know like my medical records, which are obviously protected by, you know, the HIPAA Act. It's just a rude question to ask. Why are you still sick? How are you gonna feel if I have some kind of like chronic bronchitis? Don't say you'll laugh. That's an edgelord answer, and I don't think I cultivate an audience consisting largely of edgelords, okay? Bald YouTubers don't get edgelord audiences. We get audiences of people who think they're smarter than they are because they have no hair, myself included. Well, this one actually worked. I'm gonna just... Dude, what are the odds? Whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down. That was a great per throw, actually. Well, yes and no. Well, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, wait a second. Yeah? Isn't that... That might be Degas. I thought that was another Yara. I don't want... Here's the thing, okay? You're going to be like, well, I didn't pick up Black Bean. Black Bean is a passive. Yeah, it's a trashive, more like, because it's not any good. I wouldn't even scrape Black Bean off of my shoe if I stepped on it in the street, okay? It's not worth it. I've had every kind of Isaac run under the friggin' sun. And never have I had a run where I was like, whew, thank God for Black Bean. Anyway, so here's the story. Kate's ill. A little bit feverish, maybe. We were in bed. It was probably like 7:30 a.m. on a Monday. Fire alarm in our apartment building starts going off. She turned to me. I swear to you, by the integrity of my soul, this is a real story. She turned to me and said, Doubt it. If you're not familiar with Doubt it, It's a Rainbow Six Siege meme of Justin's creation that I piggybacked on the shoulders of giants. She turned to me and she said, doubt it. I laughed, but I was also like, and this is a bad habit, by the way, I did not evacuate, because she's right. There's a boy who cried wolf situation. We've lived in this apartment for almost 4 years. I have evacuated for probably, this is no joke, 30 fire drills. And they're not always drills. Sometimes it's like, I gotta pull the fire alarm. We did it. But still. So now, it's not that I don't evacuate. I stay awake and I kind of pay attention. And I'm like, if the alarm doesn't stop in 3 or 4 minutes, then we'll go. We got a ladder. We could tie a rope out of bed sheets and go out the window. We'd be fine. Anyway, you should always evacuate. But I do sort of think that at some point, this building is doing so many fire drills that it's actually having a negative effect. Because you do a fire drill once a month, you think that's going to make you prepared, but what it actually does is make you like milk toast. Like whenever you hear the fire alarm, you go, oh, is it that time again? Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But thanks for watching. I will see you next time.